Welcome everyone to yet another edition of Time Pass for the New Indian Express. I have with me the beautiful and talented, I'm sure she's heard this a million times, Aditi Rao Haidari. A combination that is very, very difficult to get, but Aditi is just perfect. Thank you so much for joining us, Aditi, from Hyderabad, one of your many homes. I think you can work across India and you can call almost any state your home. And I have with me Sudhir Srinivasan, who's the entertainment editor of the New Indian Express. Thank you, Sudhir, for joining us as well. He will bring an expertise to it, which I do not have. But I have to, of
I
course,
think
ask.
Kaveri is being very modest there.
I have to, of
Always.
course, ask you, Aditi, about Mani Ratnam. How can we begin anything with you without mentioning Mani Ratnam? And it must be such a privilege to act in your third movie with him. And were you in the middle of shooting it when this happened? Talk a little about that.
So I want to first start by I don't know what I should address first. So first, let me start by saying that for me, having worked with Manisha twice, or just the first time, when I start talking about Manisha, I have so much love and respect for him, and he's just so much more than a director. He's like a mentor, like almost like a parent, and he's like that to all of us who worked with him. That I can just go on and on about working with Manisha and the whole process of working with him, which for me I've realized is one of the most valuable things in filmmaking. You know, because the outcome of that film very often is not in your hands, how it gets received or whatever. And I'm not talking about just I'm talking about any film.
Yeah.
But I feel like as an
Hmm.
actor and as an artist and that whole journey of making that film, I've realized is just so important to me. And with Money Sir, it has been like it's been addictive, and it's like you get that that vitamin booster shot, and then you're constantly craving that experience again and again. And I feel it's been life changing in many ways because I feel like there's a little more like. I mean, at least I strive to be more fearless now and pick films for the right reasons. So I think Manisa has really, really changed my life and the way I work, and even personally as a person in many ways. The second question, which I've been trying to convince people for a very long time, but nobody is buying what I'm telling them, is that I don't even know if I should be saying it because I feel like Madras Talkies should be making their announcements, but I'm not doing Manisa's third film.
Oh no.
I would love to do every one of his films, but
Okay.
for some reason nobody believes me. I'm very happy about that too. So when I put a colory video, they'll say I'm practicing colory for Ponniyin Selvan. But if I put a dance video, they'll say
Selvan,
I'm
right.
practicing dance for Ponniyin. No, but I feel like Manisha makes decisions for a particular reason, and
Right.
I totally I totally I mean, I think he's very, very clear about what he wants and how he wants to cast, and he has a very, very fine understanding of who's doing what.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
it's fine. I mean, I would like,
Right.
I'm sure I'll, so like, I keep telling him, like, sir, I'm coming back. I'm coming back soon.
But what was it like when you got the
Aditi,
call for Katru? I just wanted to understand that because I can't imagine what that must be. You know, getting that call either from Mani himself or from an associate asking you to, be in Katru Veliadu. What was that like?
So I actually got a call from Shiva. Shiva is Manisha's. He used to be an AD, then producer. He also writes. He also acts. So anyway, so I got a call from Shiva, and I thought somebody was pulling a prank, and I was like, huh, what? Because he said I'm calling from Madras Talkies, and I'm Shiva, and Manisha would like to meet you, and I was just like, please, whatever. And then of course I realized that it was for real, and I literally like left immediately because I was like, oh my god. But getting to that office and sitting in front of Manisha, I had to really just breathe, because somewhere and Manisha was doing actually a screen test. He wanted to do a screen test, and I was freaking out because um, my main concern
Hmm.
was that I didn't know the language,
Hmm.
and I was going to muck up like a lifelong
Right.
dream because I didn't know the language. And I think what he said to me really changed my day and my month and my year and my life. He just said, I just need to,
Hmm.
I don't need to see if you can, I'm not here to test your acting. I just want to see how much you take my direction.
Okay.
And suddenly I was just like, oh my God, yeah, okay. And then that's when
Hmm.
I just said, okay, this is my dance class. He's my teacher, and I just have to like observe what he is saying and then put myself into it and do it. And it was so beautiful. And that's what's really special about working with Manisha. He always says that let's do this together. And for somebody who's like legendary like him and who has such a clear vision, he still gives you so much space, and he appreciates put you, you know, breathing life into what he has written. And it's just so collaborative. Um,
Right.
but at the same time, I completely give myself to the process.
Right.
With Manisha and
Right.
with a lot of other directors I've worked who I've really loved working with.
Right. Some actors spend their entire careers without ever getting the opportunity to
Yeah.
work with somebody like a Maniratnam, somebody like a Mishkin, say. Now, what I want to ask you, because you touched upon lessons, and you have said this previously as well, that there's a lot of subliminal learning that happens when you're working
Yes,
with them, not particularly in an instructional way.
yes.
Now, would you want to slightly expand on that and talk about what exactly are some of the things that have changed in you as an actor, apart from, of course, paying attention to the director?
Um, yeah. Okay, I'll tell you some certain practical things that I've realized after working with somebody like
Mm.
Mani sir, or a lot of the directors that I've worked with more recently. Mishkin sir, Mohan sir, even Sanjay Leela Bhansali. So I realized one thing, you know, as actors, what happens, especially as I mean, I can only speak for myself as a girl, as a woman in the industry. What happens
Right.
is quite often when you're new, there is so much pressure on how you
Mm.
look and how
Yeah.
you're supposed to look and these kinds of things. But I realized when I worked with Mani sir, is that, and this is the first time it is happening to me, because also in Bombay there is more of a PR mechanism that is working while you are working, and how, you know, that world is so sacrosanct. The world that you are creating is so sacrosanct, and where basically your pre-production is the most important thing. You
Right.
know, what every kind of
Mm.
preparation, it's almost like when you're doing riyaz for your dance or your music or whatever. So you work and you work really, 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 really hard. Again, very sort of, you're constantly exploring this, exploring this, exploring this, exploring this, and somewhere in your brain it all just comes together. And when you're in front of the camera, it's just like, you know, and then we're all on the same somewhere speaking the same language in the same world. And I found that really, really, really amazing. And which is why I keep saying the process of working is very, very addictive. So that's one of the things I learned, that, you know, you how you look is how you look. You cannot change that for good or worse. What is important is what you do when that action is called, and that time between action and cut is almost like wonderland, and you can be anybody, do anything. It's a very secure, beautiful, magical kind of space. And I feel like that's one of the things that I find very amazing about working with directors like that. That's one thing. What are the other things? Another thing that I found very, very amazing about certain directors is how, you know, you could be 10 films old, 30 films old. There's no hierarchy on set when you're working, because you have come into that team because you perform a certain function and there is trust that you are going to do it well. And somewhere, you know, without there's a kind of infectious energy and that passion for, you know, it's like you're working towards one thing, and it's not
Mm.
like I must shine, somebody else must shine. We
Yeah.
need to shine together for it to work. And I find that, you know, directors who work like that, it's just such a revelation, because, you know, what will I get out of putting my co-star down or trying to look better than my co-star? It's what the scene requires. It's what
Right.
the film requires. So I find like that really, you know, it made me feel so much more comfortable with who I am, what I am doing as an actor, because, you know, as an actor, however secure I may be, or however much I may be a positive whatever person, sometimes these stupid little things creep into your head, you know, and they have in the past when I started, because people also tell you things.
Yeah.
But today I'm just like, you know, we're a team. I might be the heroine, somebody else might be, but it doesn't matter. We're still a team, and we need to make it happen together. And I feel like
Right.
a great director makes that happen.
Is that why you worked, say, with Sudhir Mishra more? You know, you worked twice with him. You worked twice with Mani. Do you consciously seek them out, or they consciously seek you out? Is there a
I'd like to.
comfort with them?
I'd like to believe that it happens both ways. So I actually, for me, one of the greatest highs, I mean, with regard to my work, especially professionally, is when people who I love and respect pick me to work with them, not once but twice
Yeah,
or three times or whatever, because I feel like, this is
Right.
a person who I like. I, you know, it also comes from my dance background, because
yeah,
when you're a dancer and when you're a student of dance, you have that teacher and then you have that teacher. But in film, of course, you have to work with different people. And to me, I always look at them as, I'm a sponge, and then I keep like, absorbing from them and their whole worldview. And there's so much to absorb from their worldviews, because they are just so expansive as
yeah.
people as well.
Right. So while talking about your choice of films, and Kaveri just touched upon your preferences as well. I noticed that of late there's been a noticeable absence of Hindi films in your filmography.
Thank God
Yeah.
for
I
that,
see that
Sudhir.
you've done Psycho, you've done a Telugu space film called Antariksham,
Yeah.
and I understand that you've got at least one each in Telugu, Malayalam, and Tamil coming up as well.
Right.
Now, I will not make this seem like a conscious focus on South cinema, because you probably do not see that as a division in the first place.
I
However,
don't. Yeah.
given the spurt of projects in South cinema, would
Yeah.
it be fair to say that you're finding a lot more interesting content coming up here? Is that
Yeah, it's
Would
a
that be a summary of
combination
it?
of, yeah, it's a combination of various things. It's also been like, I really believe that you can't plan these things. I didn't plan it. See, I may have
Hmm.
wanted to be a pan-Indian actor, and because of the the sort of varied directors and voices, and the most amazing kinds of cinema all across India.
Right.
So that is one thing that I've always wanted to do. But getting those opportunities is a chance. So it happened because of Manisa, and it didn't even happen because of KV. After KV, I didn't have any work in the South. It was only after
Right.
KV, then there was Padmavat, and then there was one Telugu film. And then Manisa at the same time signed me. The moment Manisa signed me for the second film,
Yeah.
cut, I started signing films in the South. So, so but
Right.
I would say that I didn't plan it. And because I didn't plan it, there were these 2 years around the time that I was working on Padmavat, where I suddenly got a lot of work down south. And because it was stuff that I didn't want to not do, and I didn't want to
Hmm.
be a planner, that I immediately said, yes, amazing content. Yes, amazing director. Yes, and I just signed them. And I didn't realize that of everything that I was getting in Hindi, from whatever I was reading and doing meetings for in Hindi, there was not one thing that I was eager to sign. And if I had, if I had worked like I used to work, to say that I should do this film because it's important for me to have my presence here, and
Yeah.
other people, a lot of people who care about me in the Hindi film industry kept telling me, "Where have you disappeared? Why have you gone? We want you here. Don't leave us and go like this." But I actually told them, I said, "You have a good film for me. I will do it. I'm not stupid. But I'm not just going to do something because I have to do it. So that's exactly what happened. And the content and the directors that I was working with in the South were just so incredible that
Yeah.
I wanted to be a part of those experiences. Having said that, I am dying to do a good Hindi film. Also, because there is a comfort in the language. And
Hmm.
even though I'm one of those very stubborn, determined type of humans. So if it's a film with Manisha, I'll mug my dialogue backwards so that I'm like on set. But there's that joy of just waking up, looking at a scene and being like, I know it, which I can't do when I'm working in the South. So I'm like, and of course that I miss the people and whatever. So I want to balance it out, which I'm trying to do now. But I couldn't do it the last 2 years. Now I'm trying to do it. What I'm trying to do in lockdown, I don't know, but generally, I mean.
But
Right.
Sudhir, I think it's because the Hindi film industry doesn't deserve Aditi, so it's okay. We really don't. I think, I think for the longest time, we really, I think the Hindi film industry didn't know what to do with someone so talented. I think the other point, I think, Aditi, is this is something that Anurag Kashyap talked about the other day, where he talked about the confusion that some actors have sometimes. Do they make artistic choices? Do they make populist choices? He said some of them make artistic choices but
Hmm.
expect the populist benefits, the benefits that come with being a big star. And
Hmm.
some make populist choices but also want to be artistically accepted. And of course, there are enough people, as you also mentioned in the in the Hindi film industry, the entourage that comes with stardom, the advisors, the managers, the PRs who are always telling you to look a certain way, to go to X party, to go to this award show, to wear a certain kind of dress. So, how does one sort of negotiate all that? It takes time, right? It cannot happen overnight.
See, that's the thing. When people talk about outsider, insider, I'm like, let's first of all not make those differences. Everybody has their own struggles. And I'll
Yeah.
tell you what our struggle is. Some of us who come from non-industry backgrounds, and again, I'm saying this with zero resentment. I'm just saying it as a very practical thing.
Hmm.
What happens is we don't come prepared and
Hmm.
groomed.
Right.
So we are stumbling, figuring it out, listening to 10 people, but saying, but this is not me. I mean, little things like you must do this film because this is, this will reach a particular audience. But
Right.
I'm just like, but what am I doing in this film? I mean, why
Right.
am I there? I'm replaceable by anybody else. Having said that, there's so many directors who write to me and say, when I have a strong female subject, I will call you. But I'm like, I'm not that person who thinks like that. That film doesn't have to revolve
Hmm.
around me.
Right.
The story has to be really, really good, and what I am doing in it has to make a difference, and you have to want me there, you know.
Yeah.
Um, as in why you want me there should be clear in your head as well as in mine when I read your script. So I
Hmm.
feel that I feel the only thing that you can truly control is your intention. And I feel like as an actor, I don't want to be bound by uh, is this film going to be massy? I again don't even want to use commercial and art because I
Right.
don't think those are correct. Those are correct ways to describe a film. I
Right.
feel it is
Right.
a film that will reach out to a bigger audience because of the way it is made, and a film that might reach out to a more niche audience because of the way that it's made. And I feel like as an
Right.
actor, I want to be able to do both because they both uh, would make me happy in different ways, as well as people watching them happy in different. And I watch both kinds of cinema. Having said that, neither kind of film can be alienating or stupid in any way. Sometimes sometimes we sit on a very high horse and we alienate a lot of people. Having said that, it is very important everybody should have a voice and should make the films that they want to make. But sometimes, like even I feel shut out from those films. And sometimes a massy film is just so daft that you're like, there's no story there. I mean, you could have just put anybody, anything, whatever. So even a massy
Right.
film needs to have a story.
Yeah.
And ultimately, a story is about connecting with your audience. Whether it's massy or it's niche, it needs to connect with the people who are watching it. That is the
Right.
beginning and end of it. I mean, that's literally it. And as an actor,
Right.
it could be in any language, it could be any budget, it could be whatever. But my thing is, I want to go and sit in the audience's heart, whether I'm there for 25 minutes or 2 hours. Whether it's a hero's film, a heroine's
Right.
film, a dog's film, doesn't matter. I need to be able to sit in the audience's heart, and they need to take me home with them.
Right. So,
Like,
Hey, so as an extension of what you're just talking, in some of the conversations I've had with women actors, they often, heroines especially, they often talk about how they view these daft films that you just referred to as almost a necessary evil in a sense.
Yeah.
I mean, they talk about how they understand that they have pretty much nothing to do except to flaunt their beauty in the film, and that's pretty much what's expected of them. However, they say that they do that so they can sustain themselves in the industry, make themselves a familiar face. And
absolutely.
these are a group of films that I think you haven't particularly accepted, I think, in terms of your script choices as an actor. I think you've stayed away from being part of a film just for the heck of being part of a film, doing a heroine's role where she pretty much has nothing else to do except to maybe dance around the hero. Now, I want to talk to you about this, and I want to ask you if this is a difficult choice or a happy coincidence.
No, I'd like to backtrack a little. You're absolutely right. So the thing is, daft films ideally shouldn't even exist because there's no story in a daft film. Now, when I say daft, see, I love Marcy movies. It's not like I don't, but I like Marcy movies that have a story, and I can, like, I don't want to name, but I have watched gazillions of Marcy movies, which have really engaged me. I've laughed, I've enjoyed it, I love the songs, I've danced to those songs, and as an actor, I would have loved to be a part of some of those movies. But there are some that are just, to me, they don't make sense. I'm just like, okay, I don't know what this is all about. But those also have a right to exist because there are takers for those also. And I feel as an actor, it is your choice what you are comfortable doing, right? Now, like, I also feel like my only criteria, see, one is I don't get a lot of these so-called Marcy films. Don't ask me why. People say she, like I told you, like a director will write to me, say, when I have a heroine-oriented subject, I will call you. But I'm just like, listen, I loved your last film. Because in the last film, because that director is a good director. Right. So what if he's making a Marcy film? He's still a good storyteller at the end of the day. And even if the heroine had 6 scenes and 5 dances, those 6 scenes were like kick-ass.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that? I think there's nothing wrong with that. It's only when that heroine or even the hero, let's not undermine the poor hero, because sometimes even the hero is just a mass of muscle and is literally doing nothing else. And so too with the heroine. It's like if you're just a replaceable body and face, I feel that's a bit like sad for you if you're trying to, if you want to be a part of like exciting cinema and if you love the process. Otherwise, like each to their own, do what you like to do, and it's true. Like a combination of the two really it gives you longevity, and I would love to do a combination of the two. Having said that, a film like Psycho is not necessarily a Marcy film, but it does phenomenally well. So to me, that's like lovely. I mean, that's perfect. But I love, like, I don't know why people think I don't like Marcy films. I love them. I just don't get enough of them. I don't know.